Hello all, in this video I'll be talking about ULLAS scheme, which is a very relevant scheme to ensure that we achieve 100% literacy in the state. So without any delay, let's go to the scheme. So as you can see on the screen, the name of the scheme is ULLAS, which is basically understanding lifelong learning for all in society. It is also known as Nav Bharat Saksharta Karyakram. It was known by other names, and there were other schemes previously which we will come to later, but now the name which is being used is ULLAS. So that is the new name for the scheme, essentially aiming to achieve 100% literacy in the whole country, and the implementation years are 22 to 27. So basically it's already operational. We also in Meghalaya have conducted many taken many steps and conducted many assessment tests also under this, and because I felt that there was very less awareness on this scheme, and the involvement of community is paramount for the success of this scheme. It is very important that everyone knows about this scheme. So let's look at the details of the scheme now. ULLAS, as I said, is the Nav Bharat Saksharta Karyakram, is a centrally sponsored scheme. Erstwhile, it was known as Adult Education, and there were various other names as well. And now the scheme has been aligned with the recommendations of NEP 2020. So now the target is of 5 crore non-literates of the age of group 15 years and above to become literate by 2027. So this is the first point which needs to be noted, that this is for 15 years and above. And now looking at why this has been done, because more or less our enrollment now in elementary sections has been more than our gross enrollment. Our net enrollment is more than 100. So that means that almost all, of course there are exceptional cases, but mostly all the children are in school at the elementary level. So they are already, they will be covered under that. So we have to be bothered about those who are 15 years and above, who are already out of the education system, who are dropouts, who could not, or who never went to school. So these are the categories. So that is why this age cohort has been decided, and the target has been set for 2027. This is the central level budget details which are there. This is for the entire country. And the scheme has 5 components. So it's not just about foundational literacy and numeracy. It is also about critical life skills. It is also about basic education, vocational skills, continuing education. So you see the definition of literacy has evolved here, and a multi-pronged approach has been taken so that other aspects are also touched as the learners are imparted some kind of education. So these 5 domains have been decided to be covered under this scheme. Now what is the implementation process? So again, states will have to take the lead, and then there'll be districts under the scheme. So initially Meghalaya had not all district, but this year I'm happy to share that all the 12 districts will be covered under this scheme. Then we have the blocks, and then of course we have VCs instead of Gram Panchayats. So basically it will be anchored by the village level, and already it will be the classes and everything will be taken up in the schools, the government and aided schools which are there. So this is the process flow at what level this will be implemented. So the bottom line here is it will be implemented at the village level, at the VEC level. Now initially it was supposed to be only online and through the app, but of course especially in Meghalaya and similar states, in northeastern states, there's a challenge of network, there's a challenge of smartphone being available, there's a challenge of electricity. So now it has been opened up for offline as well. So offline mode is also going on. Primers have been printed, they have been given to the schools, and now both modes are available. So this is very good in terms of implementation. Then the schools which will be designated or which are already being used as centers of learning for these non-literates, they are called Samajik Chetna Kendras, and they are essentially government and aided schools which are registered under UDICE. Now this is a very important point which everyone has to know and understand, is that this is a purely volunteer run program. So there are no teachers appointed under the scheme, but we expect that the students now, especially from the higher sections, from the secondary sections, they will act as volunteers, the community members, those who are literate themselves, who are educated, who will come forward. NSS, NCC, etc. So many organizations can come forward and they can support this scheme by enrolling their students as volunteer teachers. So these volunteer teachers will in turn teach learners, they will encourage, they will identify. First of all, the major thing is identification of these non-literates, because these non-literates may not come forward on their own. So the first part is that identification of these non-literates. So again, the entire thing is volunteer driven. Of course, we will have certain kind of coordinators at each district level, but essentially the program will be run by these volunteer teachers. So now to monitor this scheme at the national level, we have Cell for National Center of Literacy, and which is at NCERT, and we have the State Center for Literacy also, which is at the Diesel office. Now, ULLAS concise primers have been made and printed in various languages. So recently we have also, before the last assessment exam, we have distributed primers. So these are primers are like guidebooks, the books for the learners, what they are supposed to know, what is the curriculum, what are the support resources, what is experiential learning. So this primer is like a guidebook for the learners. And then there is something called Margdarshika, which is a handbook for the teachers, for the volunteer teachers. So these both have been designed, and as and when we are conducting an exam or we identify new learners, we distribute these primers to them. So this is as a part of making this scheme offline scheme. Earlier it was supposed to be, entire thing was supposed to be driven through the app. And now again, the last point is very important, that everyone knows about this scheme, because still, since it was not implemented in all the districts of Meghalaya, still that kind of awareness is not there. So we will have a social media strategy to bring in more people, and so that everyone is aware, because this has to be driven by the community, by the volunteers. So for that, everyone has to know about this scheme. So now coming to major innovations under the scheme. As I already discussed, initially it was online, but giving attention to these remote and rural areas, especially in the northeastern side of the country, it was made offline as well. So now it can reach more people. Students from schools and higher education institutions, teacher education, TEIs, are volunteer teachers. And of course, we would love to see more participation from the Nehru Yuva Kendras, which are there in each and every district, the NSS, which is there, NCC, which are there, and the civil society organizations which are spread, Anganwadi workers as well. So basically, whomsoever can volunteer, everyone is welcome to join in this program. And then the government and government aided schools are the centers where these schemes is being implemented. Now, what are some important steps? Instructions have been issued by UGC as well on involvement of students of higher education institutions in the implementation of the scheme. Credit score to them for teaching to the non-literate, certificates to students for acting as volunteer teachers. AICTE has also issued similar instructions. NCTE has issued similar instructions. So all the institutions have given instructions to their respective people that it's very important that you all participate as volunteers in this scheme. And this message has to spread to each and every block, district and village. So we will ensure that that happens through a social media strategy. Now, this is the logo of the ULLAS scheme, which is there. The slogan is Jan Jan Sakshar, that means everyone becomes literate. And there is a mobile app with the name ULLAS. So these are the things which are the new developments under the scheme. Of course, there's a website with all the details which are there. A simple Google, you'll get all the details. And the app, why do we need the app? It is for conducting surveys, it is for registering of volunteers, it is for registration of learners. It can be by surveyors, or it can be also by self-registration. Now, with regard to the survey, I want to focus here that of course, we have the older data from the 2011 census, but we would want, we need actually the latest figures for these non-literate. So soon we'll be planning for a big whole state level survey, so that will help us understand better, and then we can plan it better. So this is some glimpses of the app. It's a simple app you can download and try for yourself. Now, impact assessment. Now, what happens is, after the learners are taught by the volunteer teachers and the primers are given, one test is organized. It is called Foundational Literacy and Numeracy Assessment Test, FNAT. So now the learners, which are originally non-literates, will appear in this exam, and then if they pass, then they will be given certificate, and they will be literates. And then this is how we convert all the non-literates into literates. They have to clear this exam, and the certification is anchored by NIOS. So we have also conducted in Meghalaya various FLNATs, but the participation has been very low. Again, coming back, the main reason being people do not know about this scheme and the importance of it, why they should come forward at that age, especially those who are above 50, 60, why it's important for them as well to come as learners, to register as learners, and to clear this exam. So we will definitely need more awareness on this. It is for their own rights, so that they know, they can read, they can be aware of what's happening, they can understand their rights, they can be aware of their rights, they can perform basic activities. So all these are very important to everyone's well-being. So it's important that we achieve that 100% literacy. So this is a format of the certificate which is given. Then what is the progress so far? Now, apart from these FLNAT and everything, ULLAS Melas are also organized, and one was organized in New Delhi also, which was a team from Meghalaya also went there, and they also were part of the whole ULLAS Mela, and they learned a lot. So Literacy Week is also organized from time to time for 1st September to 8th September, and we have organized in various districts. Then we have different things on the ULLAS mobile app. There is short videos for awareness and usage. Then we have ULLAS Pledge for volunteer teachers, and then of course they have a YouTube channel as well for the ULLAS. Dedicated YouTube channel is there. Coming forward, these primers, as I talked about, these primers have been developed in all the languages and are being given to the learners, and in fact it has been released in all 22 languages. And then there is a documentary film also which has been launched on this ULLAS scheme, and these are the links to the channel and the page, which I'll share in the description of the video. Now going forward, what's happening in Meghalaya? Let's see in terms of the pictures. So we have a state center for literacy, and we often regularly we have these meetings and decide action plan on how we are going to forward and what is the target for this year. So now the next is that every district we have created master trainers, and they have been trained, and they have been made ready to train the volunteer teachers, and so that every district has sufficient master trainers. So at any time, if there is a need, we can organize these kind of trainings for the volunteer teachers. This has been done in all the districts. Then of course we every year we celebrate this International Literacy Day on the first week of September. This also is observed across the state. The Adult Learners Week, which is basically Literacy Week, and the focus on rural areas. And then Writers Workshop was organized. Of course, this one is in Delhi, and we had our own workshops in Shillong, and after that primers were developed. These are the learners, and this is basically VEC meeting. So village level, the involvement of VEC is very, very important, because at the village level, since we don't have Gram Panchayats, VECs have to push this whole program and make sure that it is a success and all illiterates are covered. Involvement of children and students is very, very important, because they can act as volunteer teachers, and as this is a volunteer driven program, we need more involvement of these higher, especially secondary level students, and also the college students. This is one glimpse of the FLNAT being arranged. and this was organized in 3-4 districts. I mean, whatever districts were covered under the scheme last in the previous years, but this year, as I said, all the 12 districts are being covered, so we are looking forward to more numbers when it comes to the FNAT exam, and more number of non-literates becoming literates. So this is all about the scheme ULLAS. Once again, just in brief, it is an attempt to help all the non-literates which are there in the whole country, in fact, to become literates by way of giving them primers, by way of involving volunteer teachers to teach them the basics of foundational literacy and numeracy, and among other things, other life skills as well. And coming to Meghalaya, we may have the real numbers, that is why we need the survey, but we may have near to 8 to 9 lakh population which is non-literate. So over the next 2-3 years, we want to cover this, and in fact this year in 24-25, our target is more than 4 lakhs of non-literates will be covering. So essentially, with this video, the intention is to spread awareness about this scheme, and also to tell everyone that you are welcome to act as volunteers, especially the students which are there, especially the community leaders, NSS, NCC. Because this is a volunteer run program, so you have to show some kind of interest if this has to succeed. So at the end, to conclude, I want to request everyone to spread awareness on this scheme. Let us work together, let us volunteer in this scheme, and make sure that by 2027 Meghalaya becomes 100% literate. Thank you so much. Kuble Shibun, Mithila.